Again, I want to thank Greg for inviting us here today, and he wanted us to present some information about our program to you guys. But before we do that, we actually wanted to discuss KPIs, and we need a volunteer. Anyone want to volunteer? Okay, great. And you have information about the client origination efforts of your firm?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So, got a few questions here. One is, on average, how many years does a client remain active with your firm?
Say about 7 years.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and put 7 in there. And what is the average number of new clients you acquire monthly?
Well, 7. It's about 7.
It's about 7? Okay, great. So if you acquire 7, then that means you're talking to a number of prospects. And so how many prospects do you receive from all sources monthly in order to originate 7 new clients?
It's about 16, maybe somewhere about that.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and put 16 in there. Now, what is the average number of annual transactions per client?
About 3 or 4. Let's call it 4.
Okay, so let's put 4 in there. What is the average annual revenue per client transaction?
About $2,500.
$2,500. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stick that in there. What dollar amount is needed for you to live the way you want to live? And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, you're taking home income, right? To pay for vacations, to pay for the mortgage, that sort of stuff. What is the dollar amount that you need in order to live the way that you want to live? And I know that you've got some other colleagues here, so you're sharing some information, but just for purposes of this exercise.
Let's just call it $300,000.
Okay, so I'm going to say it's $1 million. I know you a little bit. I understand that, there's out of seas trips that you want to take. There's your retirement that you're preparing for. So if you really kind of take all of this and amortize it out on a monthly basis, what you would find is there's a certain number every single month that you would want to receive in order to live the way you want to live. So let's just say it's $1 million. And what is the net margin or percentage that you receive on your business revenue?
It's 30%.
Okay. So for consulting, tax, that sort of thing, that's pretty typical. So let's put it in 30%. All right. So we're going to go ahead and run these results. So what this tells you is that based on 4 transactions per client for 7 years, that's 28 transactions total that you receive from a single client on average. And if we're looking at $2,500 per transaction, what that means is the value of a client is going to be $10,000. So on an annual basis, and it's going to be $70,000 on a lifetime basis. So in 1 year, you're going to receive 10 grand from that client on average. And in the next 7 years, you're going to receive $70,000 on average. Now, you told us that you've got, based on the number of leads you receive from all sources, and based on the number of new clients you receive monthly, what this means is your conversion rate's about 43%. Now, if you do this calculation, the value of a single lead is $4,375. So there's a conversation that you all might need to have with your receptionist now, because every time she picks up the phone and there's some new prospect that's calling, that prospect is worth, they're qualified, is worth $4,375, right? Because if you put 10 prospects in front of you, you're going to convert 43% of them. And these are your average numbers. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the point of this is, and this also shows you what the cost of those leads are. So if you lose leads, say you lose 10 of those leads, the cost of 10 leads to you is $306,000. That's a hidden cost. That $306,000 doesn't show up on your P&L sheet. Right? There's no expense item that says we lost $306,000 this year. It's a hidden cost, but it's a real cost, because if you're training people properly, or you have the right agreements in place, or you've done the sort of things to build the correct legal foundation, and you can avoid this from happening, that's $306,000 that's been added to your top line revenue. So it's a real cost. but it's hidden. It's not showing up in your financial statements. And this tells you the total number of leads you've got to receive to hit your target revenue goal is going to be 64 monthly and 764 annually. So when you look at what sort of money you want to make at the bottom line for your company, you can determine how many leads that requires on a monthly and annual basis based on your conversion rate, based on your average client value, and those sort of things to get that. Now, the point of all this is these are all KPIs. They're called key performance indicators. And a key performance indicator is simply a way of measuring something in your business. So, for example, if you wanted to move the dial on this and you wanted to increase your revenue by 10%, you might come back here and say, instead of focusing on new prospects, let's focus on the people who already know us, like us, and trust us, our current clients. And if we just had a focus to increase this $2,500 to $3,000, you can imagine when that is multiplied out from all your clients, the amount of revenue that's going to add to your top line. Certainly going to be a lot more than 10%. Or you might say, we want to focus on the number of years they stay with us. They're at 7 years, but we want them to be at 8 years. The lifetime value of that client now is going to have a huge and significant impact on your top line revenue. So when you start looking at your business through KPIs, through key performance indicators, you can start making better decisions about what things to move the dial on to make a positive impact on your P&L statement, on your company, on your goals, right? You may say, well, we're going to increase this lifetime value, so let's start doing welcome packages. A customer comes in, we give them a welcome package, and we give them an anniversary package with lots of goodies, because we have an initiative now to try to get this from 7 to 8. And you look at the cost of that and say the cost for one client's about $100 over the lifetime of their visit, $20 a package. And that moves it to 8. If that gives you another $1 million in revenue, right? That $100 gave a really good return on investment, right? Or with this one client, if it increases it to another $20,000, $100 spent to get another $20,000 of revenue out of them makes sense. So you can start calculating what is the return on investment. So some questions that we ask our clients, because you might be wondering why legal, right? Lawyers, business lawyers in particular, care about this sort of thing. Well, most of them don't. That's the reality. Okay? So let's go through a few questions. We're going to jump to the PowerPoint presentation. So some questions we ask is, do you use KPIs in your company? What KPIs do you measure? And we all measure KPIs. You might not realize it. But for example, you're probably measuring top line revenue. Every month you're looking at your spreadsheet and you're asking yourself, are we have a percent change in our top line revenue, right? That's something that you're looking at. You're probably looking at your margin. All of those are KPIs, but they're just backwards looking. They don't help you make future decisions, right? But you're looking at the number of transactions and those sort of stuff, then that can help you make a future decision, right? You can say, we're going to do these sort of things, which we think will impact the lifetime value, which then in the future will have an impact on the top line revenue. Are these KPIs measured department by department or company-wide? Because most people are measuring them company-wide. Do your KPIs measure the return on investment? We just spoke about that. Doing a welcome package and an anniversary package in order to generate a specific return on investment. What if every department had to justify its existence to you? Your HR director had to come to you and say, you know what? We've got a 40% turnover. I've looked at the cost of training a new person, right? It's about 10 times the salary. So it's a huge cost because we've got to onboard them, we've got to train them, we've got to get them up to speed, there's a learning curve. So this is the hidden cost that we're incurring every single month when we have to have employee turnover. So I want to decrease this from 40% to 10%. And this is what the return on investment will be. They're having to justify their existence. What if every department had to prove every dollar spent generated a 10 times return on investment or a 3 times savings on cost? So the question I have for you all is, why doesn't legal have to do this? Shouldn't every vendor, legal or otherwise, justify their existence to you? Shouldn't they show you what sort of return on investment they're giving? It's the last thing an attorney is going to want to do, right? And why? Well, this next slide will probably give you a pretty good idea. So what you're saying, Dad, is that when a person has a problem, they call a lawyer like you to fix it. If you fix it, you get a lot of money. But if you don't fix it, you also get a lot of money, right? This is the typical bill you by the minute model. And this is why people hate working with lawyers. So you got Dilbert. Dilbert's a CEO. Dilbert's got a problem. So Dilbert calls his lawyer. And his lawyer has no incentive to solve this problem quickly. In fact, his lawyer has every incentive to draw it out, right? And so what you get at the end of the day is a surprise law bill that's done by the minute, right? Here it says, Hope Big Corp has more documents I can review, 11.2 hours. Discuss strategy to get work from Big Corp, 0.5 hours, right? This is the sort of bill you get. You had no idea what the number was going to be, and it's got this bottom line on the bill, it says pay this amount, and that's what the lawyer's focused on, and that's what you're focused on, is that bottom line number. But that bottom line number has to do with the lawyer and their KPIs and their goals, and it doesn't have to do with the client's goals and KPIs. So we realized there's a better way. We charge a predictable flat monthly fee. That way we can be proactive. We can be proactive instead of reactive. We can identify problems that the client might not even be looking at in order to tackle little legal issues before they become huge legal issues. We prove the value of our existence with a minimum 10 times return on investment. We've got a proprietary ROI tracker that looks at how much liability we have avoided every single quarter. And we deliver this to the client, and it's transparent. It's detailed. It's got all sorts of information on how we calculated this. We want them to see whether or not they're getting a return on their investment for working with us. We have every incentive to solve the problems fast, to do it right, and to make it quick. Now, one of the issues that somebody might say is, I'm worried you might do it too fast, right? If we do it too fast and we don't do it right and make it stick, you're not going to want to continue to be with us. We do things right, and we make sure it sticks. We actually have procedures we put in place with our clients, what should be in place if you had a legal department. We follow these procedures. We make sure that the solutions we provided are implemented. We have very extensive consultative checklists that we go through with our clients to make sure we're capturing all the different options they have to help facilitate better decision-making by them. And then after all that, we do the drafting. And then we're providing them the documents. They're then reviewing it again. It's very clear that we're not just doing this quick, but we're responding right away. There's no startup cost. There's no relearning the business and figuring out what's going on, because we're on the front lines all the time, which allows us to do things quicker. And we can do it right, even better, and make it stick. We are business people first who happen to be lawyers. And we think in terms of profits and losses, and specifically our members' profits and losses. Again, that proprietary ROI tracker is based on the member. It's about giving them a return on investment. How can we improve their profit margin and their top line revenue? The number at the bottom of that bill is about us, about the lawyer. It's not about the client. And we believe we have developed a new and revolutionary way of approaching legal in business. We've been very successful with this model. We've got companies that are up to 160 million in revenue who are in the model. all the way down to $1 million. We've got different tiers depending on the annual gross revenues. And I think all of them would say that they've gotten a huge return on investment. In fact, I'll leave you with a quick video from one of our clients.
My name is Stephen Kaplan, and I'm an owner and director of operations of Roomy's Kitchen. Prior to joining the InPrime program, because we didn't want to spend money on legal fees, I would be the one who would review all of our legal documents, and I would catch things, but the reality is I don't know all the answers. And so having someone who knows all those answers is invaluable to us. One of the things that I like the most about the InPrime program is that it truly is an InPrime legal team. When I have specific employment questions, I have an employment counsel I can talk to. When I have a contract that I need reviewed, I have a contracts counsel I can talk to. When I have just general questions, I have a concierge that I can call and can direct me to the person that I need to go to. There's always someone available to help us with what we need. By having Jonathan and his team on the front lines, we're able to have them involved and reduce the threats and issues that we have before they happen versus dealing with them once they've already happened. And we really appreciate that proactive approach. When you look at a growing company, they don't one year have a law department and the next year they don't. The InPrime team is now our legal department. They're part of the business, they're part of our meetings, they're part of our strategic thinking, and they have an integral role in how we make decisions and how we grow this company. And so we want them right there next to us every step of the way as we continue to grow and achieve our goals that we've set out. I would recommend InPrime to any small or medium-sized business that wants to put more money to their bottom line and take proactive steps to bettering their business.
Again, what I would leave you with is make sure that you have KPIs. You know, if you talk to Vern Harnish, who wrote Scaling Up, The Rockefeller Habits, you talk to Gino Wickman, who wrote Traction, you talk to Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great. All of those books talk about KPIs, talk about the importance of metrics and running your business by metrics. That's how you scale a business to a successful and great company, is using metrics. And the more you can use metrics to put your employees under metrics, your departments, and your vendors, and your legal department, and making sure that legal understands what sort of return on investment they're giving you, you're going to be able to grow a better and greater company. And that's what we realized. And that's why we developed this model, because we wanted to put on a business first lens. And because we're so focused on this, all of our attorneys, our legal staff, our admin, they're focused on this first. They look at every legal project through a different lens, this business first lens. They understand the short-term initiatives of the company, the long-term vision, and they're making sure that whatever they're doing project-wise is furthering those initiatives. So again, Greg, thank you for allowing us to be here this morning and to present to this group, and look forward to talking to you more about it after this event. Thank you.